Alright, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I'm going to say, Kolayimla, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do rule and teach well. As always, young brother here, Shamash One Ban Yahweh. And today I would like to speak on 2 Kings, the 23rd chapter. I really want to speak on the 7th verse. Is the thing that I want to speak on the most, but I will just read on. And the king sent and gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. Talking about Josiah. So Josiah, he was one of the few good kings of Judah. There was the split between Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, and Jeroboam. Who would have the northern kingdom. And as you get the split between the northern and the southern kingdom, 10 went to the north, 2 went down to, stay in the south and whatever. And that was how we got the split. And then eventually Levi got kicked out of the northern kingdom. And so you get Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Alright? But very possible some diaspora, dispersed Levites could have came over to America. With the rest, it's possible. I'm not going to say that it's not. But yeah, that's that. The king went up to the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants with them, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words, the book of the covenant, which is found in the house of the Lord. If you want more context, you can read the previous chapter. Pretty much the king that was before him, Ammon, was getting up to some crazy stuff, man. And Manasseh, and there's a book in the scriptures called the Prayer of Manasseh, where he repents and stuff like that. But I don't know the full history and all that, so don't ask me. I'll look into it when I get to it. Because I'm reading certain parts of the scriptures and stuff like that. And I don't want to really burden myself too much. The only reason I'm getting into this one is because this is mentioned in First Ezra, the first chapter, and I'm following that GMS reading plan that I posted on my channel a while back. So I just want to do this to speak on it, share some information, so on and so forth. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord, to keep his commandments, his testimonies, his statutes with all their heart and all their soul, to perform the words of his covenant that were written in the book. And all the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple the vessels that were made for Baal and for all the hosts of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried them into Bethel. So Josiah's reformation of religion, right? We know religion means to bind, it's just something that you follow, right? Like, this is our religion, our way of life, Reformation of religion by Josiah next engages the writer's attention and is treated not chronologically, but rather geographically, under 3 heads of reforms in Jerusalem, reforms outside Jerusalem, but in the kingdom of Judah, and reforms in the territory which had belonged to the kingdom of Samaria. All right. Celebration of the Passover is then briefly noticed, right? Let's get to the point here. Another deputy high priest, of whom there seems to have been only one in this period of the history, the heads of the courses, right? We don't need to go talk about that, right? So the vessels that were made for Baal, the Reformation actually began with the purging of the temple, right? Because they were bugging out. Jake himself, jacked up the temple as well, not just the Babylonians and the Greeks that came after and stuff like that. They also, Jake himself, jetted the temple once before, which is horrible. The Reformation actually began with the purging of the temples. The Reformation under Jehoiada and then Manasseh and the vessels will be included entire paraphernalia at worship, even the two altars which had been set up in honor of Baal in the inner and outer courts, and for the grove. Hold on. All right. Okay. I was talking about something. So the three worshippers ran for the grove and for all the hosts of heaven. The three worships are here united because there was a close connection between them. Baal was in one of his aspects sun, and Astarte, goddess of the grove. Worship was in one of her aspects the moon. The cult of the host of heaven, though perhaps derived from a different source, naturally became associated with the cult of the sun and the moon, and he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron. And the law required that idols should be burnt with fire. I pertain to Jeremiah 7:25. The graven images of the gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take them unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is abomination to the Lord thy power. Alright, so don't keep that bullshit. It's supposed to burn them. So everything they were doing was according to the law. Okay. I got this website right here. It speaks a little bit more on it. Who was Moloch or Molech? Alright, so Moloch was the ancient Ammonite fire god. Okay. When you go look into it, it's also Baal. Same thing. They were pretty much the fertility gods and goddesses, right? Ashtoreth and Moloch, Baal, it's basically same shit. Yeah, so the sexual relationship between these false gods set an example for unbridled sensuality among their worshippers. So all this stuff in the sun and the moon, it's partially sun and moon worship, but it's also the sexual aspect, and it's going to speak more about that. Likewise, groves was enough to overthrow altars and to break pillars, but Josiah seems to have thought it best to destroy by fire in the completest possible way, with all the objects of whatever kind which had been connected with the idol worship. The burning took place in the fields of Kidron, the upper part of the Kidron Valley, to northeast of Jerusalem, in order that not even the smoke could pollute the town, and carried the ashes of them to Bethel. This was an unusual precaution. It shows Josiah's extreme frugalousness. That would not have even the ashes of the wooden objects, or the calcined powder, or the metal ones, remain even in the vicinity of the holy city, but transported them to a distance and selected Bethel as a place to convey them to. He was no doubt actuated by the circumstances that the village was in some senses the found origin of all the religious impurities which overflow the land. That whichever proceeded from Bethel might well be taken back thither. So I gotta see where that is. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. Alright, so I didn't click record. That's annoying. That's annoying. But I think I was talking about Bethel. This is in the Northern Kingdom. I'm not gonna look into all the history of that, how all that stuff came from Bethel. I don't know if Jeroboam had his start in Bethel or not. I gotta look into all that. I know Jeroboam was he was big. One of the big reasons all this stuff started up again, because he made that golden calf or something, and he got a lot of the stuff rolling. Okay, he put down that idolatrous priest Josiah. He ordered them to be executed. The kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in high places in the cities of Judah, a place round about Judah. They also burned incense to Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the planets, to all the hosts of heaven. Okay. Jeremiah 11:13. For according to the numbers of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the numbers of the streets of Jerusalem have you set altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense to Baal. Okay. That's what they were doing. And you see here to the sun, to the moon. The moon represents here, right, the most of the burnt incense to Baal, to the sun, to the moon, the Baal worship of Manasseh and Ammon, the kings before Josiah. And the sun worship, compare verse 11, the moon worship was probably worship of Astarte, and to the planets, rather to the 12 signs, the constellations of the zodiac are without a doubt intended. Right. Six. And he brought out the grove of the house of the Lord without Jerusalem, and to the brook Kidron, and burnt it at the crit, the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder upon the graves of the children of the people. You can read that for yourself if you want to learn more. And he brought down the houses of the sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, with women with hangings for the grove. Okay. Houses, the cabins of the qadashyam, in the house qadashyam were males, perhaps eunuchs who prostituted themselves like women in honor of the Ashura. Same thing as Ashtoreth, right? And all goes back to this whole article right here kind of explains it well. But Moloch, Baal, was a fire god. Also involved sun worship and all that shit. Let me see here if you look up Baal, right? General name used to have Palestine in the Bible for this type of fire god was Baal. Alright, and it all goes back to Moloch. It's the same thing, just different names. And Ashtoreth was god of the moon. And pretty much sexual relationship between these false gods set an example for unbridled sensuality among the worshippers. And you can read that for yourself, where they were getting down like that. Male qadashyam is mentioned, right? Allow male worshippers to use them for that stuff, sacred harlots, right? I don't really want to talk about that, but you can read that for yourself if you want. And where the woman hangings for the grove, right? Weave tents for the Asherah. We have our dirty cabins and tents, batim, which really be like bayafim houses. Was Mennonite case is not clear. Perhaps the female harlots test the temple, portable tabernacles or sanctuaries for the goddess for sets of the worshippers, or tents and screens for their own foul rites. Maybe meant. Okay, so that's what they did. Similar things happened with Diane in the Greeks. Can't remember the name of the city, but they worshipped Diana. And that was their thing. Global, and you're edified, and I'm done. Shalom.